Hey guys, welcome to the HVAC Workshop where we're going to be processing issues for plumbing companies, HVAC companies, but today we're going to be going over an HVAC company out of the Midwest. So just want to jump in here, and if you guys appreciate it and like it, if you have any thoughts or comments, make sure to let me know. And yeah, let's jump into it. So we have Tom. He owns an HVAC company out of Ohio, and he's currently doing about $3 million in revenue. He gave me some KPIs that I could look at and really try to optimize as far as who I am. My name is Caleb Johnson, and I help HVAC companies grow. I was part of a family business that grew from $3 million all the way up to $12 million in revenue. And yeah, it's what I really love to do and enjoy. So I love processing issues, so that's kind of what I want to do. And that's what I do now that I own a company called JMCG, and we help with marketing and consulting for HVAC and plumbing companies. So let's jump in. So Tom has $3 million in revenue, so I'll just kind of put this here. In revenue. He wants to get to $6 million. That's his goal. He was like, hey, if I could get to $6 million, that would be awesome. Just some very basic KPIs. He is currently getting most of his leads through Yelp and Google LSA. So leads is coming from Yelp primarily, plus LSAs, local service ads. Okay, and he also is currently doing, I tell you what, Cody, do you have some of his numbers?
Yeah.
That you could just read off to me real quick?
Yeah, so his TGL booking rate is 50%.
Whoops, my bad, TGL. Okay, close. Okay, is 50%?
Yep.
Okay.
His marketing lead close
Okay.
is 20%.
%. Okay.
Yep. And the demand call booking rate is 60%.
Call book rate is what?
60%.
60%. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, I think that's a majority of the numbers that we need to kind of get started and kind of start to process this. So I wrote it in this order, and I know he also mentioned that his TGL flip rate is 25% when used equipment. So we have a couple different metrics here, and we'll jump into each one. If you don't know what they mean, it's a lot of fun because you can see how if you just change one percentage by 10%. If you increase it, you're going to see a massive increase in revenue. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's get him to $6 million because that's his goal. So first, I want to process his lead flow, okay? Because where are these leads coming from? How much is he paying for them? All those important statistics and numbers. He's been in business for a little over 10 years now, so he has a good customer base, and that's what's gotten him here is referrals. But then when I asked him, and just his existing customer base just growing over time, and I asked him, hey, what are you doing for marketing? He goes, oh, well, we get leads through Yelp, primarily Yelp, and then some through LSA. Not a bunch, but some. And then we have the call booking rate, which is, hey, somebody calls in, a demand call. Hey, I need service on my unit. It's not working, and that's at 60%. When we're talking about TGL flip rate, so that's when the technician goes to the home on an opportunity. It's called an opportunity when the equipment is 10 years or older, and currently he's only flipping those at 25%. A TGL close rate is at 50%, and his marketing sales close rate is 20%. So we're going to go through this department by department. So marketing, like he said, currently he's doing Yelp. And Yelp is about $300 to $400 a lead, which is pretty expensive. He says usually leans on the more 300, so we'll just kind of put it at 300. And then his LSAs is also what he's getting getting leads from, and those are about $100 a lead for him right now. So that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Boom. Some little arrows there. So right now, I immediately am seeing an issue, and a primary issue that he's running into is when he has the Yelp leads come in, he's not the only company to be outbounding to them, right? Because the way Yelp works and Angie's List and these other companies is that they sell leads to multiple businesses, and then the first company to get to them gets the lead essentially. So it's really, really important to own your own leads, and to when they're looking for the service, to get in front of them, and then they call you, you book them, and then you convert. You just kind of keep going down the line. You add them to your customer list, if you will, portfolio. So really, there's some key things that I want to change here. And first, I want him to start focusing. When we look at growing HVAC or plumbing companies, what we want to do is we want to have a long-term strategy and also a short-term strategy, okay? And on the short term, we're going to start with Google Ads. And I also want to optimize his LSAs. All right, well, how are we going to do that? Well, first off, we need to get him a review system to increase the amount of reviews. That way he's getting higher ranked in the map packs. He's also going to get higher rankings in the LSAs. He's going to get way more leads through there. The fact he's already getting leads is a good sign, but we need to really, really increase that. So how are we going to increase the amount of reviews that he gets? Well, he first needs to implement a review system. And we do this with a lot of companies we work with, which essentially is, hey, obviously we want to have a little printout, like a business card with a QR code that the technicians have. And they ask very personally, hey, we're a small business in the area. We really, really would appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Boom. Really that simple. Now, on the other side, to get a little bit more technical, what we want to do also is send out a text message via SMS to them with the review link, and that will increase by a large percentage the amount of people that we're actually doing service for and then getting a review from. So really, really important because we need to get volume as far as the reviews. So a review system is going to be really important. And Google Ads. All right, Google Ads, we need to start running pay-per-click ads that are specifically targeting keywords that are people that are high intent. They're looking for the service, heating repair, AC repair, etc. And from there, we can derive and we can pull leads, and the call center gets the call, they book the call. Really, really important. So he also, kind of more on the long-term strategy, I want him to be optimizing these reviews, optimizing his LSA profile so he can get more leads through there. But also, I want him to do SEO because what that's going to do is he's not going to be paying per lead on that. It's going to be just over time, it's going to increase the amount of people that are coming to his website, specifically on the keywords of HVAC repair there in his area. And then not only that, but AC repair, I mean, whether looking for a duct cleaning, etc. So SEO is a little bit more on the long-term strategy, but Google Ads is going to be where, and LSA is going to be where he is able to make an immediate difference, an immediate impact. Because he's doing $3 million in revenue, the rule of thumb is you want to spend between 8 to 12% of your revenue on marketing. All right, that's just a rule of thumb. So even if you were to split the difference and do 10%, I mean, that puts him at $300K in marketing spend, which I know I mentioned that real briefly, and he was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's really, really, that's high, right? Especially he's not used to doing it. But yeah, so that's really what we want to look at. And yeah, so Google Ads, I would definitely find somebody who can do it really, really well, who can optimize those reviews. Those ads, get the leads in, and he needs to optimize his website, that it converts, then run the ads. I also want him to implement some meta ads. I would do like $1,500 to $2,000 a month in meta ads. This is going to get you awareness. It's going to get you leads. It's something that it's a pattern interrupt. It's not necessarily when people are coming in looking for your service, but it's a pattern interrupt, right? They're on social media. They go, oh, I do need that, or whatever the case may be, or maybe you have a special offer. You want to get in front of them. And that will generate leads not just when it's really hot out or really cold out, etc. So that's really, really good. Google Ads, but budget for that, we're going to be looking at I want to start around 3 to 4K, but then I want to go up to pretty quickly about $7,000 to $8,000. I'll put 8K when they're optimized and when he's hitting the KPIs that he needs, the click-through rates, the conversion metrics, all of that. Really, really important. On the SEO side of things, that's going to be anywhere from $2,500 to $5,500 if he gets a really good company to do it. And that's going to be something that we're also just growing over time. We're getting more keywords. We're getting more leads. The advantage to SEO is that way when you have 100 leads come in a month, a company we work with like this past month, it's not even it's a shoulder season currently, and they pumped out 199 leads through SEO. So, obviously I know that's a bigger company, but either way, they're not paying $100 for that lead, right? Like, real quickly, if we're just gonna be doing the math there, if they had, let's say it's $120 a lead on everything that they're doing, and then they had 199 leads come through there. That's $23K in leads that came through SEO, but they're only paying like $5,000 a month in SEO. So it's a much more efficient way of gathering leads. It just takes some time to build. So I want to make sure that we're getting these quick wins. And we're also able to really dominate that whole page of Google. So anyway, that's really what we're looking at currently for his lead flow. This will fix it. This is something that he'll also be able to plan, because right now you have it's based on his existing customer base and Yelp and LSAs. So since a primary source of his work comes from people he's already done work for, it's like, well, do they need service, right? And it really comes down to that. They call him when their stuff's broken. It's not something that you can really, really rely on and say, okay, well, last June we got X amount of leads. This June we're going to go a little bit more aggressive and we're going to get more leads. So it's something that you can really plan out growth. So yeah, that's right where he wants to be. Currently, let's say that the management for the LSA for Google Ads is $1,500. Let's say he goes $5,500 for SEO. Let's say he also does $8,000 in Google Ads and LSAs. He's spending about $5,000 a month, and Meta Ads for management, let's say it's $500 plus $2,000 on the advertising there. Oh, ad spend. So like when it's maxed out, he's not going to start out at this, but when he maxes out, he's going to be around $23K in total marketing spend. Now it's not that so let's just do 300K divided by 12. That's right about where he needs to be. A little under that 10%, and that's that's that sweet spot. So that's what I would look into. Obviously, you have other marketing avenues like a home show every year, etc., that you can do. And hey, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If you get more leads than what it costs you, boom, do it. So yeah, that's the marketing side of things. Let's move on. Once the calls are generated, to the call center. Call center, I'm just going to go CS. So call center really, really it's important. And right now his demand calls, he's booking at 60%. And rule of thumb, so we work with a lot of companies in the Nexstar network. It's a company that consults, KPIs, service training, all that, specifically for HVAC, plumbing, and electrical companies. And they've grown, hundreds of companies to, millions and millions of revenue from, small all the way to 10 plus. That's kind of their gig. And being in that, I learned a lot of KPIs that you want to get. And hey, it costs a lot of money to get in. I think it's like $40,000 entrance fee, and then it's like $20,000 a year to $30,000 a year to be in the program. Plus, you got to pay each person you want to send to training. So anyway, it's 100% worth it though, because you're able to optimize these numbers. And when you optimize these numbers, honestly, outside, even if the marketing does zero, just optimizing these numbers, we want to see him hit 6 million with his existing. So that kind of shows you like, wow, he hasn't really done much with the marketing. He's already at 3 million and he's not that optimized. Yeah, this is going to be awesome. He's going to be a $10 million company, within 24 months. So All right, currently we have, 2 years. I didn't want to be like, ooh, is that a little too aggressive? But no, he should be there. So 85%. That's the rule of thumb is 80 to 90%. So we'll split it down the middle. This isn't his worst number, but essentially the main concept is that demand calls are people that are looking for service. And of those demand calls, around 30% of them will be aged equipment, okay? That's on the conservative side. A lot of times it's more than that because it's broken, right? But either way, let's say 30% are demand calls. If he gets or aged equipment, which are opportunities for our technicians, if he gets 100 phone calls and he starts booking 85 of them, what he's going to see is that 85 times 0.3, 25 calls of the 100 should be opportunities, okay? And just off of that, like we should be, booking, so we already have them booked, so half of them should be flipped to sales, and then sales should flip 65% of them. So we should be at 8 sales off of 100 calls. So 100 calls should generate 8 sales. And you should be well above $10,000 average ticket. That's about where he's at right now. We can help optimize that to get that higher. But, right now, that's going to pour it into $80K in revenue. And, if he's paying for 100 calls on average $120, well, that's $12,000. So he had $12,000 in spend to get $80,000 in revenue. That's a very scalable model. So that's really what we want to look at and where we want to get to. So we're going to work on the rest of the departments. But either way, we need to be getting to 85% booking rate. That's them calling in. Now, how do you do that? Well, currently he doesn't have like a call recording, so he's not even able to tell like what the call center guys are saying or girls are saying. So we want to have some kind of system where we can record what the reps are saying, how they're booking them. So we want to get a recording software. We also want to get him even more. We want to get him scripts. Because they need to be following scripts because you need consistency. I mean, this is what it's about. You want it to be very, very personable. You maybe even want to make the script a little specific to each person, whatever they're most comfortable with. But at the same time, you want them to be using the same thing because guess what? Then we know. I mean, when we're listening to the calls, they're following the script or they're not. That's why we're at 85% or we're at 60%. So really, really important. May not sound like that big of a deal, but it is. And he's actually has a decent booking rate now. We just need to improve that a little bit. So that's how we're going to increase his call center. And one other thing that I did notice is that he doesn't really give any attention to the aged equipment. That's really, really important. We need to be focusing on aged equipment. So if it's 10 years or older, that's an opportunity. So if we have a warranty call or a call that, for the service department that's 6-year-old equipment, we need to try and kick that out. If our schedule is booked for today or tomorrow and somebody calls in and has a 12-year-old system or a 16-year-old system, and they're like, hey, it's not working. It didn't really work that well last summer. Now it's just not working at all for AC. We need to be able to get them right on the calendar because when people are hot, they're going to go find somebody else. So we need to book them right then and there. And honestly, he's probably this 15% that he's missing out on, a lot of them are really, really good aged equipment opportunities. So it may only be 15% here, but I guarantee you it's 30% of his opportunities. So that's kind of my thought process is, keep a 3-day call board in which you're hitting the ideal number of what we call opportunities and then demand calls. So that's really what it is. So kick those off. If you need to get them a $10 Amazon gift card, do that to keep the customer happy for rescheduling. But either way, make sure that we're getting to those people that have aged equipment that aren't working. That's going to be the cash cow. So, all right, let's move on to service. Service, here we go. So service really comes down to, because when I did the numbers off the call center, I was only looking at what the revenue that install would generate. I wasn't even taking into account maintenance contracts, service calls that are, $200 to $400 or even more, just depending. I wasn't even taking that into account because our moneymaker is those same-day installs. So those people that they have a 2-ton system, it's dead, we now need to replace that because we're able to get to $4,000 in profit each day that we're doing that. So that's really what we want to focus on. That's the cash cow. So that's what service needs to work on. And this is actually his biggest opportunity currently. Outside of the marketing, I would say it's marketing and it's his TGL flip rate. He's currently at a flip rate of 25% on aged equipment, so 10 years or older. And, we want to get that to 50%. That's the rule of thumb. We have to get that to 50%. And even if he gets to 40%, he's going to see a massive increase in his revenue, and even if there's no extra jobs to be had, because we're booking more people, and then now we're flipping more to the sales department. So, the way that I know a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of companies, the main concern that they always say is like, well, we don't want to sell a new system if we don't have to. Totally get it, right? We want to be very, what do I call, ethical when we're doing this. So, obviously, it's the customer's decision, but at the end of the day, we do want to give them the reasons as to why they should have sales come out there. Well, the first reason that everybody always gives is, equipment will be more next year. It's just how it's going to work, right? If it's low on refrigerant, you're going to have to come out next year. If, it's a 17-year-old system, you're probably going to have to come out and service it at some point next year or the following, etc. And when they have the sales department come out then, equipment's just going to go up. Trane or Lennox or Bosch isn't going to call you, and they're not going to say, Daikin, they're not going to say, hey, by the way, prices went down this year. That never happens. It's going to be a percentage increase, and you have to pass that on to the customer. So that's the first reason. Second reason I always mention, especially technicians, and this is more of a time thing right now, is, hey, by the way, the tax credit for high efficiency equipment ends at the end of this year. So you are not going to be able to get that next year. So at least look over your options. Just look over it. If it's something that you want to get a higher efficiency system anyway, a nicer piece of equipment, a Bosch compared to a Goodman, make sure to go ahead and do that, right? Get the Daikin system instead of just the Goodman system. And if you're planning on it, get that $2,000 tax credit. That's awesome, right? And not only that, but they're also, I would set up an SOP, a standard operating procedure, that specifically tells the technicians to alert the customer that, hey, by the way, I'm here in your house, I got your system up and running, but just so you know, I can have a comfort advisor come out and show you your options because it is an older system, it's outside of warranty, and, the tax credit, equipment's going to be going up. But additionally, even if you do decide to have the sales guy come out, we're going to credit you. If you decide to go with a new system, we're going to credit you your service call today. So it's a no-brain, it's a no-duh kind of decision for the customer where it's like, well, if I decide not to go with them, I'm in the same position. But if I do decide to go with a new system because it makes sense, well, then I get the service call written off and it works out for everybody. So that's the SOP that is really going to move the needle here. We've got to get that a lot higher. We got to double that, and that should increase his revenue by 60% right there. So trust me. Yep, that's where it's at. So that's the biggest thing is his flip rate. His average ticket on his service, I prefer to increase his prices just in general. That's really the simplest way to increase revenue. But outside of increasing pricing, this is going to be really, really huge for him. So make sure that your technicians are also, I also want to do, so we have an SOP specifically, standard operating procedure for a buyback, essentially, buying back their service. But additionally, I also want to implement something a little simpler, and it's just making the technicians aware and keeping track. So we want to reward the technicians, reward techs when they do flip. So if you have a technician that is specifically, let's say they're behind or maybe they're not even, maybe they're right where they need to be, we need to reward them. If they hit that 50%, we're getting them, a $50 gift card to their favorite restaurant. Something that's there that is that's an incentive. It doesn't have to be huge, but it gets them excited. And that's really what it is. It's going to help them deliver the message. It's going to help them actually follow the process that you give them, which is, hey, by the way, mention these 4 things, have it on a notepad for them in their notebook, whatever it is that they take into the home. Either way, it's going to help improve that. And then not only that, but you're going to have technicians that flip at higher rates than others. You just are. You're going to have a technician who's incredible at service, fixing things, problem solving. He's great at diagnosing the problem. But guess what? He's maybe not that good at flipping. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that in dispatch, so I want to have a dispatch SOP that really, really helps them get the focus and gets the technician that's best at flipping to those opportunities. And opportunities are systems that are 10 years or older, 10 years plus in equipment age, because they're outside of warranty, etc. So everything that's 10 years or older, we want to be flipping over to sales by at least 50%. And you're going to have that guy who's incredible, but he just doesn't hit those metrics. Let's get him on the warranty calls. Let's get him on this equipment that's under 10 years old. Those guys who are flipping, maybe it is your service technician that's the most seasoned, that's the best at diagnosing, that is the best at flipping. Well, in that case, we want him to go on all the 10 years or older equipment. So in dispatch, in your mind, hey, we want to send all the opportunities to our best flipping technicians. So just kind of something to remember. Also, keep a rule of thumb on your people. We'll go over that probably a later time, but we don't, it's a whole thing. As far as managing people, there's ways that you could do to really improve it. So that's service. So now we're going to jump into the sales side. And this is where I'm going to stop. I'm not going to get into install. We can do that. But there's a couple of things that I would do. They currently offer financing. They do that really, really well. Which is awesome. And that's how their average ticket is at 10K. So their average ticket is at 10K. I want to get that up to 12. And that's going to be selling higher efficiency equipment, giving people the options. But the biggest thing currently is that his TGL conversion percentage, so when the tech hands it off to the sales guy, is currently at 50%. Okay, we want to get that up. We got to get that up to at least 65%. Okay? And right now, he's referral based. The people he works with, he's worked with for a long time. It's part of his customer base. So his flip rate right now, or obviously not flip rate, but his closing percentage isn't bad, especially for his process. So what I want to do is I want them to start presenting in-house. Currently what they're doing is they go to the house, they look at they get the measurements, they make sure that everything's going to work. Make sure, okay, we don't have to change out any line set, all those different things. And when they decide to all right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you over a proposal. That's the biggest X of all time. Do not do that. That is, oh my goodness. Emailing presentations, emailing estimates is a huge no-no, huge no-no. And that's going to really hurt your close rate. So what we want to do when we get in the house, I want to change his process. It's currently him and one other sales guy. And we're going to have to get more salespeople, first off. So we want to make sure this process is duplicatable. So what you want to do is you want to present 4 options, okay? And when I did HVAC sales, it was really as simple as you go into the house. I had it in an Excel sheet. I didn't even do anything fancy. But I had all my equipment. I had my Goodman as kind of my bottom tier. I had my Lennox system as kind of my bottom middle tier. My Daikin as my upper efficiency of kind of that qualified for the tax credit. And then the premium option, which was, the nicest Bosch, highest efficiency Bosch system. And what that does is you want to port people, when you give 4 options, they're typically going to go and gravitate towards that third option. That's just kind of how it goes. And what I want them to do is to have their financing options such that they work with a company like Service Finance. Service Finance. And what they're going to allow them to do is to get 0% financing for the upper, for equipment. And what I want to do is I want to only offer that. That's for 60 months, at least the ones that I always used. So you have 0% for 60 months. And what that's going to allow you to do is it's going to help you, because you're only going to make that available to your top 2 pieces of equipment. So that's just so key, because what's going to happen is you're going to say, hey, by the way, it's a better piece of equipment. You get 0% financing for 60 months, and it qualifies for the tax credit, and it's going to save you on your electric bill. Boom. All those things are going to really, really help you. Like we had, when I did it, we had different financing options that, had interest rates, but they're really long terms, that you could do a 10-year, 120 months at, 8% interest. Well, guess what? You're paying a lot more for that system than you are for 60 months, 0% interest. Now, how does service finance in these companies do it? Well, you have to build it into your price. So they charge you like $1,500 off the rip, and but you get paid directly, and they just keep $1,500 of it. So, that's just it's a really good option. It helps people kind of conceptualize it, saves the customer, helps you sell higher efficiency equipment, helps your average ticket. Boom, goes way up. And then I also want to present the monthly, because currently he doesn't even have that on there. What he does is he goes, he gets all the measurements, checks everything, says, I'm going to email you a proposal, emails over to the estimate, and then it just has the total price. Well, he has a couple different options. He has 3 different options, but he just has, okay, this one's $8,000, this one's $11,000, and this one's $13,000. Right? It's just not good. So we want to present the monthly cost, and obviously in that Excel, you have like a notebook, you have 1.5 ton, flip it over, 2 ton, flip it over, 2.5 ton, flip it. It's like in a binder. And what's really, really awesome about that is that you're able to make it really, really easy for your salespeople. They don't have to be going and making the proposals. When I first started, we'd print out a proposal, and we would do it in-house, but it would be kind of a pain. I even had a mobile printer for a while that I kept in my car, and I would just print it out, and then I would go back inside and I would present the options, and it would look really, really good. But I just realized, like, man, I can do this off an Excel sheet that just has all of my equipment, all of the statistics of the equipment, and the efficiency, and not only that, but the monthly, and then the price. So I want to present the monthly cost to the customer, not necessarily just say this one's $15,000. I want to say that's $300 some a month. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. And with that, all of that, he's going to increase his TGL percentage. He's also doing marketing leads. Marketed leads, which are people just calling in saying, hey, can you give me a price? I need a new system. Can you come out and give me a price? He's currently at 20%. We want to take that to preferably 35%, but we're going to take that to 30% just by implementing these processes. Funny rule of thumb, marketing leads always have a higher average ticket than TGLs. Don't know why that is. That's just a part of the game. So you would think it would be the opposite. You would think, but it's just not how it is. So anyway, make sure you're presenting the monthly. Do it in-house with the customer. Help them through the financing to where you actually are doing it right there with them. It's closed. Yeah, it's going to, instead of just being a half hour to get the measurements, talk to the people, you're with them for 2 hours, but you're closing them from start to finish, and it just helps the whole sales process. So, in totality, that's all. That's going to help. Just to summarize, we have call center, which is going to get to an 85% booking rate. And at the top of it, call center, how are they going to get calls? Marketing is going to hit them. We're going to be pumping in leads. So we have to get the marketing department optimized. We need more leads, a lot more leads. And then they're going to port down to call center. Call center is then going to hand that off to service. And service is going to flip that at 50%. And when you're at 50%, when those 50% do get flipped, By the way, this is aged equipment, so actually it's like only 30% of the call center, what they send to service is going to be opportunities. So of that 30% is going to be flipped by service at 50%, and then you need to have your sales department closing that at least 65%. And what's really interesting is you can actually just do really, really quickly how much each lead is worth to you. This is what we do for our clients just to conceptualize it, right? Like how much is a lead worth to you? So for example, let's say your average ticket is $12,000, which is where you need to be. If you're in South Florida, we have some clients down there, straight ACs, like I get that, it's gonna be a little less, but either way, if you're doing heat pumps, furnaces, you're at $12,000 average ticket. If we have, let's just say we start at $12,000 in total. So what we want to do is we want to multiply that by, okay, well, of that, only I would say 85% is going to be booked, right? 85%. Of that, only 30%. Only 30%. This is when it really cuts into it. 30% is going to actually be flipped to the or have an opportunity. It's usually going to be a little higher, but I'm being really conservative with these numbers. So now, guess what happened? Service has $3,000 each lead is worth. So of that, we should be flipping half of them. So we're at $1,500, and then times 0.65. There's some companies that are closing at like 85% with what I just showed you. I mean, it needs to be a lot higher than 65, but you know, let's say you have a bunch of salespeople. Some people are going to be at, 55%. Other ones are going to be at 80%. It's just how it works. So in this case, doing all of that, siphoning that $12,000 through a 30 per, a 70, only 30% are even opportunities. Call centers only booking 85% of them. Then we go down, we cut off another 50% because sales service is only flipping 50% to the sales department, and sales department's only closing 65% of them. We come out to a lead value of $995. Okay, that's $1,000. So each lead is worth $1K. And that's very, very scalable, especially when you have your leads at about $150. So you can just see. And by the way, this is assuming that all these calls at service, because service is running 85% of the calls coming in, is having zero lead value. So if you do an average ticket of $250 on a sales call, average ticket, I'm like I said, I'm being really conservative here. Of that, those leads coming in, you need to be doing way, way more than that. So let's just say it's $250 times 0.85. So in that case, service, those other people, they should be ticketing at $212. So each lead should be 1.2K, so $1,200. And that's exactly what we usually tell our clients, is $1,200 is how much each lead is worth. So that's just some numbers. Makes it easy, makes it simple. You just kind of see that and you go, wow, like, man, this is really valuable, each lead that comes in. So I hope that helps. If you appreciate the workshop, if you have any thoughts, drop a comment, leave a like. I really appreciate it. I love processing issues. If you have a business that you're currently wanting to process issues with, I'm all ears and we can process it. So message it to us, email it to us, DM, or yeah, you can just leave it in the comments and we'll grab it. So anyway, appreciate it, guys. I hope this helps. This is going to help him get to from 3 to 6, 3 million to 6 million really, really quickly. It's just not going to be a problem here. So yeah, it's well within reach. Let's get it. I want him to be on track within 12 months to hit these numbers, the 6 million number. So anyway, sounds good, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll catch you on the next one.